Hey everybody, happy Thursday. This is gonna be a fun one. So there was another group that I think Matt tagged me in a comment. Somebody was asking about how to deal with a rider that smells. A lot of us have come upon this situation before. I know I have seen it many a time. It's very dependent on the situation. So I'm going to go through some different options for how to handle it. First and foremost, any sort of situation with your rider that's affecting other riders. So if it's, a smelly rider, if it's, oh shoot, hang on one second. Okay. If it's a smelly rider, if it's a loud rider, I've had that, someone who screams during class. If it's a rider who sweats so much that they flail around their bike and they spray sweat everywhere. I've seen it all. The thing about this stuff is you have to remember that these people, more likely than not, don't realize what they're doing, right? So there's a lot of different ways to handle this stuff. What I want to say first is that as an instructor, it is not your position to be dealing with these riders. It is your managers or your owners. So it's kind of nice, right? You don't have to deal with it. It's something you put off on them and they deal with it for you in the way that they see fit, because it is their studio, their gym. They're probably going to want to handle it in certain ways. So first and foremost is tell management. Or tell the owner if it's a small studio. Let them figure out how they want to handle it. If they don't want to do anything, then you just have to respect that. I have seen a lot of places where it's kind of a, ignore it and just let it happen kind of situation, which it's up to the owner. So you have to just go with it. As an owner or a manager, if you're dealing with this situation, there's a couple things you can do. One first, and a lot of the comments in this thread said this, so I'm glad. You have to recognize that not everyone, it's not just a body odor thing. It might be a medical issue. It might be a scent issue. Maybe they just don't smell themselves. It might be a dietary issue. There's just such a long list of things that it could possibly be. Maybe this person doesn't have a lot of options for clothes and they have to wear the same clothes. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you never know. So make sure you're approaching it with the mindset that it could be a whole host of reasons, and realize that it might not be something that's fixable. So let me see. Sorry, I took notes because my brain had so many things I wanted to say about this. The other thing you want to realize before you approach the situation, again, as an owner or a manager, not an instructor, it's not up to you. The owner or the manager, if you're deciding to approach the situation, realize that you're probably gonna embarrass this person, right? There's no easy way to bring up this kind of situation where someone's not going to feel a little bit embarrassed. But on the other hand, if they're stinking up the room and everyone's noticing, they're already embarrassing themselves. They just don't realize it. So maybe you're going to do them a favor if you do say something. So deciding to say something. So you can do this. There were a bunch of comments about this too. And I read them all because I do want to see what other people think, but I don't necessarily agree with everything. So some people said you can make a sign. And that's what this girl in the other group was asking. So a sign that says, cleanliness rules, and you explain wiping off your bike, making sure you're mindful of others around you with your smell and your body odor, your clothes, wording it in certain ways. So a sign, or commenting in class, beginning or end of class, about being respectful and wearing deodorant, however you want to say it. Those sort of broad general comments, as with, people talking during class, when you say stuff like that, they don't always hear them, right? Like, the people they're intended for don't always listen. Hey, Elena. So you can try that. More likely than not, it's not going to hit the person that you're going for. So that stuff doesn't always work. So then I would take a step back. So I've had a couple situations with smelly riders. One of them was, I did get complaints that this person smelled, but they came to maybe one class every other week. So was it really worth it for me to address it with this rider, make them feel really uncomfortable and embarrassed for someone who comes to maybe two classes a month. And by the way, the number of people that complain will also show you, because I have in my current studio, I had someone complain about one of my regulars smelling, but it was only one person. And she admitted to me that her sense of smell is very sensitive. So, I rode in a class with one of my instructors and sat next to this guy, and I didn't smell at all. So it also is kind of dependent on the person who's making the complaint. If you're getting multiple complaints from a bunch of different people, that's a different situation. And if the rider is a regular, which I have also had in the past. So what I would do as a manager, if I had someone in class who really stunk up the room, and I had a lot of people complaining and people were not coming to class because of it, which is a big situation, a big problem, I would personally ride in the class with that person next to me in one of my instructor's classes after class. So I have the benefit of, I know all my regulars pretty well. So I have the benefit of, I would probably already have a rapport with this person. I would be able to chat with them. So I would stay after class and chat with them a little bit in the studio, try to get them to linger until everyone else left. And then I would talk to them. Once there's no one in there, I would be very matter of fact. I would try not to embarrass them. I just want to say, oh, hey, I just wanted to bring this up. Have you been washing your clothes with a special like detergent or anything? Or, because I think a few people have noticed that there's been a scent, coming from your clothes, your general area. However, you got to be very careful about how you word this. It's going to depend again on who the rider is, how well you know them, what kind of person they are, if they seem closed off, if they're very outgoing, all those things are going to play into how this conversation happens. It's tricky. It's super tricky. But again, if you're an instructor, not an owner or a manager, it is not your place. You don't have to worry about it. It's your job to let your manager know, hey, I've gotten complaints about this person. People are not coming to my class because of it. You're losing money because of it or whatever else. Get it so that they care enough that they do something about it. It's a tricky situation. It's really tricky. Like, there's not going to be a really easy solution to this. No matter what, you're either going to probably alienate someone, make them feel embarrassed, or you're going to have a bunch of people that have to go through a stinky ride. The other thing, though, is I really like when you get in a studio, people smell, right? When they work out, they smell. When you get into a room, fans are going, relatively clean room to start with, I would hope. Once people get going, you don't really smell stuff. I don't know about you guys, but like once you get working, you don't really focus on smell because there's so many other things going on in your body. So it's got to be pretty bad for it to be a situation where it's going to be addressed in this way. Now, again, everything is different. I'm not going to begin to guess what you guys have dealt with in terms of stinky riders because they definitely exist. But I would always err on the side of, let's make sure it's really worth addressing this because there's always going to be something, right? Like I have a guy who runs to class every day. He wears the same sweatshirt every day. So the sweatshirt stinks, but he keeps it in the lobby and then he rides without it and it's usually fine. But it smells in the lobby. So is it really worth it for me to, bring up, hey, you're stinking up the lobby for the 5 minutes before class that you're there? No, not really. Because once he gets in there, it's fine. Nobody complains about it. So if you guys have particular situations that you're trying to deal with as an instructor, and again, management should deal with this. If they're not, if you've told them, this is my issue, it's affecting my class numbers, it's really frustrating, I need your help with this, and they haven't done anything, then it's really not up to you. You really can't say anything. You could ask them, is it okay with you if I say something to the rider? And if they're okay with that, then it's a tough situation, but at least you get to try to do something. There's a lot of this stuff going on, though. There's always going to be stuff that you have to deal with. Hopefully you have a manager or an owner that takes care of it for you. If not, let me know in the comments if you guys have dealt with situations like this and you need some help with it, whether it's a smelly person or a loud rider or whatever it is. I'd be curious to know, and I would be happy to give you what I would do, which might not necessarily be what you would do or be the right way, but I'm happy to talk about it. So let me know in the comments, like tricky rider situations. I want to hear about them. and we can talk more about them. But that's what I would do. It's definitely a process. It's definitely tuning in and figuring out yourself, what's going on. Is it really that bad? Is it worth addressing? Is it a medical issue? Is it, their clothing? Is it their diet? Can you figure all that out before you approach it? And then can you approach it in a way that's private and, matter of fact? Can you handle this? So hopefully that made sense and it helped you guys if you're dealing with a situation like that. I'm happy to talk about it more. If you want, let me know. And I just realized I'm not going to see you guys before Christmas. If you celebrate it, happy Christmas. And if not, then maybe happy Hanukkah or whatever else you celebrate. Otherwise, I will see you one more time before the new year. So if you have a Hoerner happy hour topic you want to talk about, drop that in the comments too, or post it in the group, and I will get to it next week. All right, everyone, have a wonderful holiday and rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, Linda. Take care, guys.